Hi friends, thank you for watching The Source, God's Answers to Life's Hard Questions. I thank you also for sharing and liking the videos. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It's greatly appreciated. This week we are in Parashat Vayishlach, and I wanted to speak about breathing and how very often we take our breaths for granted. People often say regarding one thing or another, it took my breath away. And I always thought it was just an exaggerated way of speaking because it never happened to me. But then, one day it did. The day that my father died. He died at home of a brain tumor. And I watched and I listened as his breathing became shallower and shallower and irregular. And then it stopped. My father David, may his soul have an aliyah, my best friend, he was gone. He was gone because the Almighty had ceased to grant him another gift of breath. But that day, my breathing also changed. I physically suffered from shortness of breath for years to come. And life went on, and many more heartaches presented themselves along the way. It didn't help. But sometimes I thought that maybe I literally gave away my breath, hoping my father would catch it and that he would live. And to be completely honest, even though I'm a religious woman, it was only a few years ago that I realized that I wasn't living with faith. Because when you have faith, you can breathe. I don't remember which rabbi said the following, but his words opened my eyes and my lungs, and they became my new oxygen. And he said that if a person can't catch their breath, how can that person claim to be connected to God and to be living in faith? With worry, they try to catch tomorrow's breaths today and thus overload their system with fear instead of faith. So true, we strive to catch the breaths that have not yet been allotted to us. That was so me, trying to pack in a year's worth of breaths to get through a single day. And I was literally like a breath hoarder, afraid to exhale. Now we read in the book of Genesis how God breathed the breath of life into Adam. God's breath. That breath is our animating force. But we too often forget that, and we become burdened by grief and worries and disappointment. We disconnect from God, and thus we go breathlessly through the motions of our life. For many years, I'd think about my editor's life motto. Her parents were Holocaust survivors, and she used to say, "It ain't Auschwitz, keep on truckin'." Sometimes it helped. What helps more are the words of Dr. Edith Eger, a Holocaust survivor whose mother was selected for death by Dr. Mengele before her own eyes. And she said in a recent interview with Luz House, "Part of me was left in Auschwitz, but not the bigger parts and not the better parts." My friends, no matter what happens, when we walk with God, the better part of who we are is always with us. And so no matter what happens to us, we can't yield our breath back to God before our time. Instead, we need to get even closer to Him and step deeper into faith. For God is the only oxygen. Let me repeat. The Almighty God is the only oxygen, and faith is the ventilator that connects us. In that same interview, House, the host of the School of Greatness, asked Dr. Eger her definition of greatness, and her answer encapsulates a major Torah value. Show up for life. And she did. But how about you? We learn this empowering life lesson from our forefather Jacob in this week's Torah portion of Vayishlach. Jacob's life is marked by heartache and challenges. His life story leaves me out of breath. He was forced to run away from home because his brother wanted to kill him. His father-in-law deceived him by switching his bride on him and giving him Leah instead of Rachel. He also changed his wages on him on a daily basis for 20 years. Yaakov wrestled with an antagonistic angel. He was left limping. His daughter, Dinah, was raped. His son started a war to avenge their sister's abduction after making a peace agreement. His favorite wife, Rachel, died in childbirth. His mother died after he fled his brother at her behest. His firstborn son, Reuven, interfered in his marital relations with his concubine. And his beloved son, Yosef, disappeared for 22 years after his brothers sold him into slavery. Whew! Now that's something to lose your breath over. Jacob's life sounds like a Netflix drama of at least 7 seasons. But true to his name, Jacob, Yaakov, which means the heel of the foot, he propelled himself forward in life. His heartaches didn't become his Achilles heel and ruin him, nor did he use his heartaches as excuses to spurn God. Jacob breathed because he believed. In the book of Shemot, we learn that when Moses spoke to the children of Israel and told them that God would deliver them from their bondage, they didn't listen. They didn't listen because of shortness of breath. The shortness of breath reflected their state of mind, and in their troubled state of mind, they abandoned hope of redemption. They lost faith in God's promise. When you can't catch your breath, then you have to catch your thoughts. Rein them in. Inhale the future and exhale the past. Inhale faith and exhale the toxins that have left you grasping for air. How often in our lives do we get locked into our emotions and our negative mindset and forget to breathe? But Judaism teaches that the entire world was created with the breath of God. So when we step out of faith, we're disconnected from our life source. We become overwhelmed by stress, which affects our nervous systems. Studies actually show that people of faith live longer. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. But if you want to climb it, you have to breathe, to let go and to let God. And I'll end this video with lyrics from a song written by the English rock band called The Police. But just pretend that it's God who is singing them to you. Every breath you take and every move you make, every bond you break and every step you take, I'll be watching you. Shabbat Shalom.